Word of God, chapter 19, 20, and 21 of Ezekiel. Let's get into it, verse 1 through 14. Now, this chapter of chapter 19 in Ezekiel is just dealing with the lament about comparing Judah's last king to a caged lion and the nation to a ruined vine. Let's get into verse 3 and 4. She brought up one of her cubs, and he became a strong lion. He learned to tear the prey. He devoured men. The nations heard about him, and he was trapped in their pit. They led him with hooks to the land of Egypt. One of her cubs, that means young King Joahaz, reigned for 3 months. Then he was taken captive to Egypt, where he eventually died. Verse 5 through 9, it reads, when she saw her hope unfulfilled, her expectation gone, she took another of her cubs and made him a strong lion. He probably was alive. He was now a strong lion. He learned to tear the prey, and he devoured men. He broke down their strongholds and devastated their towns, the land, all who were in it, and were terrified by his warning. But then the nations came against him, those from regions around about. They spread their net for him. He was trapped in their pit. So with hooks, they pulled him into a cage, brought him to the king of Babylon, and put him in prison. So his roar was heard no longer on the mountains of Israel. Another of her cubs, this designation refers either to Joachim or to Zedekiah, both were taken captive to Babylon. Verse 6 to 14. Your mother was like a vine in your vineyard, planted by the water. It was fruitful, full of branches because of abundant water. Its branches were strong, fit for a ruler's scepter. It towered high above the thick foliage, conspicuous for its height and for its many branches. But it was uprooted in fury and thrown to the ground. The east wind made it shrivel. It was stripped of its fruit. Its strong branches withered, and fire consumed them. Now it is planted in the desert in a dry and thirsty land. Fire spread from one of its main branches. It consumed its fruit. No strong branch is left on it fit for a ruler's scepter. This is a lament, and it is used to be as a lament. Your mother means the lioness, meaning Israel. See in verse 1 and 2 is here pictured as a fruitful vine that was uprooted and its branches burned. What was left of the vine was planted in the desert. All right, let's go to chapter 20, verse 1 through 49. And this chapter is expressing the sad truth that Israel's history had been one of the continual idol worship and moral failure. Ezekiel told the elders of his day that they themselves had not yet removed their love for idols from their hearts. Thus they too were guilty before God. It was guilty before God. All right, verse 9. And it reads, but for the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profane in the eyes of the nations they live among, and in whose sight I had revealed myself to the Israelites by bringing them out of Egypt. For the sake of my name, God did not totally destroy the Israelites in the desert of the Exodus because he wanted to uphold the honor of his name. He made himself known to them by bringing them out of Egypt so that he could fulfill his promise of his universal blessing through his chosen people. Verse 12 reads, also I gave them my Sabbath as a sign between us, so he would know that I, the Lord, made them holy. My Sabbaths. Israel's observance of the weekly and annual Sabbaths were intended to remind her that she had been so set apart as a holy nation in order to manifest God's righteousness and glory before the world. Verse 30. Therefore say to the house of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says, will you defile yourselves in the way your fathers did in lust after their vile images? Will you defile yourselves? That means that the crucial question of this chapter is, will you Israelites continue to defile yourselves? Because believers today face daily decisions, whether to surrender to the sinful desires of the flesh, of their human nature, or to yield themselves to the Holy Spirit and serve the cause of Christ. Verse 32. You say we want to be like the nations, like the prophets of the world, who serve wood and stone, but what you have in mind will never happen. To be like the nations, God's people are constantly tempted to conform to the customs of ways of the world, and thereby cease being God's special people. We must always ask ourselves two basic questions. Number one, do I give in to peer pressure at school, on a job, or among friends? Two, am I different in my ways and actions, or do I instead conform to the ways and expectations of the ungodly? Verse 34 to 44 says, I will bring you from the nations and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm with outpoured wrath. I will bring you into the desert of the nations, and therefore there face to face I will execute judgment upon you. As I judge your fathers in the desert of the land of Egypt, so I will judge you, declares the sovereign Lord. I will take note of you as you pass under my rod. I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge you of those who revolt and rebel against me. Although I will bring them out of the land where they are living, yet they will not enter the land of Egypt, land of Israel. Then you will know that I am the Lord. As for you, O house of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Go and serve your idols, every one of you. But after it, you will surely listen to me, no longer profane my holy name with your gifts and idols. For on my holy mountain, the high mountain of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord, there in the land, the entire house of Israel will serve me. There I will accept them. There I will require your offerings and your choicest gifts, along with all your holy sacrifice. I will accept you. I will accept you as fragrant incense when I bring you out from the nations and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered. And I will show myself holy among you in the sight of the nations. Then you will know that I am this Lord, when I bring you into the land of Israel, the land I have sworn with unlifted hand to give to your fathers. Therefore, you will remember your conduct and all the actions by which you have defiled yourselves. You will loathe yourselves for all the evil that you have done. You will know that I am the Lord when I deal with you for my name's sake, and not according to your evil ways and your corrupt practices, O house of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord. Let's break down what I just read, that verse 34 to 44. Now I will bring you from. That means God is promising to bring Israel back from the captivity after he had purged out the rebels and the evildoers. A faithful remnant will return to the land and will no longer profane God's name by disobedience or idol worship, and they would enjoy the blessings of the new covenant. Let's go to chapter 21. That's chapter we read. Now in this chapter, from verse 3 to 32, is dealing with the judgment against Jerusalem, and the nations of Judah will come by the sword, i.e. by the Babylonian army that God was going to use to destroy them. All right, let's go to verse 3. It says, and say it to her, this is what the Lord says, I am against you. I will draw my sword from its scabbard and cut off from you both the righteous and the wicked. The righteous and the wicked in natural catastrophes or national disasters, the righteous and the wicked often suffer alike. Note, however, but Ezekiel had early made it clear that the righteous would not experience the eternal judgment of the wicked. In verse 12, cry out and wail, son of man, for it is against my people. It is against all the princes of Israel. They are throw the sword over my people, and for beat your breast. Don't say sword, because God's people had not accepted his chastising correction. They had no choice but to deliver them to the sword, to remain stubborn and self-willed while being chastened by the Lord, results in being condemned along with the world. Verse 19 to 23. Son of man, mark out 2 roads for the sword of the king of Babylon to take, both starting from the same country. Make a signpost where the road ranges off to the city. Mark out 1 road for the sword to come against Rabbah of the Ammonites, another against Judah and fortify Jerusalem. For the king of Babylon will stop the fork in the road at the junction of the two roads, to seek an omen. He will cast lots with arrows. He will consult his idols. He will examine the liver, until his right hand will come the lot for Jerusalem, where he set up battering rams to give the command to slaughter, to sound the battle cry, to set battering rams against the gates, to build a ramp and to erect siege works. It will seem like a false omen to those who have sworn allegiance to him, but he will remind them of their guilt and take them captive. The king of Babylon. Spiritists believe they could tell the future by examining the livers of slain animals. Ezekiel insists, however, that God controlled the pagan practices of King Nebuchadnezzar in order to accomplish his will. Finally, verse 27. A ruin. I will make it a ruin. It will not be restored until he comes. To whom it rightfully belongs to, I will give it. Until he comes. I mean, Ezekiel is prophesying that though the Davidic line will continue, the Davidic throne will not be established, or reinstituted rather, until the Messianic king came to establish his rule. Jesus Christ, the Messiah, will yet rule over Israel. All right, so I'll read chapter 22, 23, and 24 on Monday. Let's quickly get into March Madness book, 1941, Wisconsin Badgers. Read that. Over 48,000 people, more than 3 times the number who saw the tournament in 1939, filled the stands in 1941. What they saw was a tournament of extremes. Washington State broke the tournament record for points in the game with 64 against Arkansas in the regional finals, and shot just 21.5% against Wisconsin in the finals. That was a record that will stand for 70 years. North Carolina set a record for fertility that still stands today, scoring just 20 points against Pittsburgh. While their third place game in the East Regional was meaningless, North Carolina's George Glamack scored 31 points against Dartmouth, a record that was last until 1950. So on March 4th, 1940, Wisconsin basketball hit its low point, where Badgers took on the University of Chicago that night to decide who would take last place in the Big Ten that year. Only 5,000 people showed up to watch the 4-15 Badgers play, which would have been understandable had Gene England not been vying for the school's all-time scoring record. The junior started the day just 10 points away from breaking the mark. He played well early on. But in a fitting end to the season, England bowed out just 3 minutes into the school second half with 9 points, so the program appeared to be on its way back to respectability the following season. But national championship was the farthest thing from Coach Bud Foster's mind. He simply hoped his team could finish in the top 5 for the Big Ten. Of course, it's hard to outshine the competition with a roster comprised of second-hand recruits. Fred Ram, a sophomore in the 1941 squad, had originally intended to play for Wisconsin's cross-state rival. He actually tried out at Marquette. His son Fred Jr., remember, and the Marquette coach told him, "You're not going to be good enough to play college basketball." So Ram had a much easier time making a team of Wisconsin, and once he cracked the starting lineup in the middle of the season, the Badgers were unstoppable. They won their last 12 games of the season to win the Big Ten title and qualify for the NCAA tournament. To top it all off, the NCAA selected the Badgers to play their first 2 games in Madison, allowing the Wisconsin fans to support their local team. What those fans witnessed were 2 of the most thrilling games of the season. In their first round game against Dartmouth, the Badgers continued one of their few bad habits throughout the year. Found themselves down at halftime. Wisconsin continued to trail throughout the second half until Gene England put Wisconsin up 46-44, just a few minutes to spare. England later hit a hook shot. Sophomore John Cox followed with a pair of free throws to give the Badgers a 51-46 lead. Dartmouth Sky brought the Indians within 51-48 on a steep shot. Wisconsin failed to hold to the ball on the ensuing possession. The last second, Bill Palmer heaved a shot from half court that actually went in just as the buzzer signed. Today, that shot would have tied the game, but with no 3-point line at the time, Wisconsin escaped with a 51-50 win. This point, the local fans had realized what special groups they had on their hands. A sellout crowd of more than 13,000 fans, some of whom had paid nearly 5 times the face value just to snag a ticket, packed the Wisconsin field house to watch their Badgers take on Pittsburgh. At stake was a trip to the national championship game. But again, Foster's team came out flat. The Panthers grabbed an 18-14 halftime lead. Pittsburgh coach Henry Carlson tried to run out the clock as the second half got underway. Rather brave decisions considering 20 minutes still remained. Wisconsin decided to pound the ball inside, and England led the team as they raced back to take a 29-25 lead, sending the crowd to a frenzy. I absolutely love the Fieldhouse. I think it was the absolute greatest atmosphere to ever play or watch a game. It would be so loud and the building was so old. It probably didn't meet the fire codes, and literally, if things got going wild, you couldn't hear the person sitting next to you, talking to you. The other sound would be held into the building by those walls. So thanks to some clutch free throw shooting by the Badgers, the 36-30 win clinched their ticket to Kansas City for the national championship game. Fans went to Chicago to see the team off, yelling out their wishes of good luck. As Ed Seawood scripted back, heck, we've forgotten how to lose. It was the sort of comic the Pine Blue had become accustomed to hearing from the junior early in the season after sinking the toss from the half court. Skewy snapped his fingers and cried, "I'm still getting some rim on those shots." Perhaps the Badgers had indeed forgotten how to lose. It was up to Washington State, fresh off a victory over undefeated Arkansas in the semifinals, to refresh their memories. Brown, still far from being the primary offense option, took it upon themselves to deliver the championship day. Sophomore made 2 shots early on and decided to try and keep firing away, much to the chagrin of his teammates. At the first stoppage of play, Gene England, who was one of the All-Americans on the team, basically cornered him and said, "Enough of that. You know, let's stick to the game plan." Laughed around. "What do you think you're going to try to do? All of a sudden, come on and be a hero here?" Perhaps the strategy backfired, as Washington State rallied from an early 6-0 deficit to take a 10-8 lead. The Cougars led 23-18 when England and star sophomore Johnny Hotz finally found their rhythm. Badgers reeled off 10 straight points to take the lead, led 34-32 in the final minutes when they made one last push to put the game out of reach. So when the news of the 39-34 victory reached Madison, students ran onto the street, started a campaign to cancel the following day's classes. Demonstration failed to persuade the school president, but enthusiasm on campus made at least one lasting impression. Instead of spending the night in Kansas City, the team ventured back to Madison, arriving in the middle of the night only to see 15,000 people still going wild to greet them. They have taken some help from the basketball team, but Badger fans had quickly cemented their status as some of the best in the game. Well, so that's it. I'm done with the Ultimate Book of March Madness. The next chapter will be about the 1942 Stanford Cardinal. So that's it, man, for the night, for the live feed. Hopefully you enjoyed the Life of the Spirit study, but I've been impacted by that. Past scriptures, chapter 19, 20, and 21 of Ezekiel, and about the 1941 Wisconsin Badgers from the March Madness book. Thanks for those who've been tuning in. I'll talk to you on Sunday for the week that was in the NBA. Until then, talk to you on Sunday for the week that was in the NBA.